come on, come on, come on, come on, Michael move. Everybody, everybody, everybody saying Michael move. Congratulations, human. You're a member of the most advanced and probably the most successful species ever to live on this planet. You have adapted and thrived in ways that have never happened before. Nicely done. Now, after hearing that, think about your reaction to the following statements. Humans are headed toward a future filled with further success, peace, and prosperity. Humans are kind. Humans help. Humans are good people. If you're like most of us, your reaction was probably skepticism. If you're like some of us, your reaction may have been contempt. But folks, put aside the impression you get from the news. Listen to Steven Pinker. Look at his numbers. The statistical incidence of war, violence, starvation, pollution, prejudice is falling, and it has been for some time. We've accomplished and are capable of such amazing things. Why do we have this need to look down on ourselves this way? The key to understanding this is understanding what we mean when we say ourselves, because when we're talking about the human race, we're almost always talking about those bad humans over there. Well, not me. It's those bad humans over there. We look down on the human race because we think we're better than they are. Think about that for a minute. We take a dim view of humanity as a whole, but we believe very strongly that as individuals, we're doing just fine. Ask most of us if we help when we can. If we're kind to others, ask us if we're good people. You'll probably hear something like, yeah, but I guess I could possibly be doing even more than I already am. I guess it's... The term for this kind of thinking is illusory superiority. And it's probably the most important psychological concept that most of us have never heard of. That's because it allows us, in spite of the evidence, to take a dim view of humanity while simultaneously holding an inflated view of ourselves. Our morals are better, our politics are better, we're smarter, more trustworthy, less biased, and my own personal favorite, more modest. Now, having an inflated view of ourselves, it's not necessarily bad, high self-esteem and whatnot. I lived through the 80s, but it has a very serious downside. We cannot resist telling our fellow humans how to live their lives, and we cannot resist forcing our supposedly superior opinions on our fellow humans. We do it all the time, we just don't think of it that way. Now, we've all heard the saying by the old quote machine, Ben Franklin, that time is money. And this is true in a very literal and specific sense. In our society, the decisions we make about how to spend our time are directly related to the amount of money that we have in the vast, did I say vast? Yeah, vast majority of cases. Bottom line, when I decide to take your money, I'm deciding to take your time. And this means I need to be very careful about the circumstances under which I choose to take your money, but we're not careful about this at all. We are constantly putting people in power who take money and therefore time from our fellow humans for causes that we say we believe in. Meanwhile, we're doing very little to support these causes ourselves. We say things like, I'm only asking them to support the same causes I do, with asking being possibly the biggest euphemism ever because it means do it or I'll put you in jail. Now, putting aside for now the question of whether these causes are doing more harm than good, how exactly do I justify, buying that new McMansion, driving that new car, getting that new iPhone, paying that $6 for a latte at Starbucks? In other words, buying stuff I clearly don't need. How do I justify doing those things while at the same time telling you you're not doing enough? Now, the idea that one group of people should not be able to use the threat of jail time to control what another group of people does with their time and money gets a very angry reaction. Much of the time, you pretty quickly start hearing words like selfish and greedy. Real favorite these days, hateful. And we think we're angry because those darn humans over there insist on doing the wrong thing. But actually, we're angry because we are many things, but we are not stupid creatures. And no matter how many psychological gymnastics we perform, it is very difficult to keep all those balls in the air. I think we'll put that one in the kids' lunches. Now, a little simple arithmetic will tell you that if the percentage of us who think that the collective we're not doing enough to support the causes that we say are important, if those we were doing our utmost to support these causes, well, there'd be no need to impose our views on our fellow humans in this way. That's what we do. Somehow things just don't go according to plan. And so we try a little more force, and then a little more, and then a little more. And the problem is, it's a big one. This society-wide control by large groups over what should be individual decisions is not the way human beings are designed to function. Humans prosper when they're free to make their own individual choices, and they suffer when they're not. This is an indisputable fact of human existence. It's been proven over and over again throughout the centuries. It applies to the rich and the poor and everybody in between. When one group gets together, decides what's best for another group, then implements that decision by force, bad things always happen, especially for the people who are supposedly being helped. Now, we've convinced ourselves that this isn't true, not because of any actual evidence. All the evidence points the other way. We convinced ourselves of this because, well, we think we know best. Also because it relieves us of our responsibility to live by the principles that we claim to believe in. Now, this is not to say that we need to have perfect integrity in order to be good people. Judging whether or not we are good people is almost entirely up to us. But it is to say, we have no business imposing this kind of judgment on others by force, especially when we ourselves are not living by our own principles. I think someday we'll get there, but as of now, we haven't yet realized that when we do this, we're breaking one of the cardinal rules that separates us from our fellow creatures here on earth, that has always and will always make the difference between human success and human failure. We're going to talk more about these rules, but for now, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being human.